Alrighty, we are back for your favorite podcast of the week. This is Location Weekly, episode number 494. And we're very excited to bring you yet another show. And we've got four great stories that we're going to walk you through this week. But Brianna, what's going on?
Just staying busy, getting more and more into this new role that I started about a month ago. And, it's the holidays. So trying to get some shopping done for the family and, trying to like encourage the giving spirit here. We had Giving Tuesday last Tuesday and just trying to, encourage my children that it's not about toys as well as telling them Santa's watching, behave,
Yes.
all those terrible bribery things that we do as parents. But how's it going with you? What's new?
Yeah, just busy. Our contact tracing stuff at ground level is just taking off. We're getting ready to launch that in the U.S. market as well, so that's exciting. And otherwise, yeah, busy times at home, family, holidays. My daughter's applying to universities, so I'm going through all of those applications and whatnot. Um, so yeah, it's there's always stuff, always something going on. So
Yep,
yeah, it's busy.
sure.
But yeah, why don't we let's jump right into the stories, and as usual, I'll let you start us off.
All right. So this first story is actually coming from an Austin, Texas-based company, and this company is called Adthena, and they are an AI-powered search intelligence company. They've been around since I think 2012, maybe. And this is I like this new product offering that they're bringing to market. This is called Local View, and what it's doing is it's giving brands this complete transparency, as they say, on the search advertising landscape across all the different geographies. So all the different like DMAs that could be tied to Nielsen DMA, for example, or different cities and regions. And it captures consumer behavior and like competitive strategies. So basically, imagine, you are a whatever, you are a pet store and you want to see what the other pet stores are doing from a local search perspective. So the clients could see like unique local trends as it pertains to, evaluating performance by location. You could track and act on these competitive moves. Maybe your competitor is offering some type of a sell or, incentivizing their consumers to come in. So, one big problem that they're really trying to solve here is that like the new consumer behavior of 2020 and everything that it has changed this year, there's been a drastic shift there. And so being able to find consumers where they are maybe is a little bit harder. From my perspective, this is also simply adding another data layer. I think that even now people are still moving around enough where there is a level of location data and intelligence that's valuable. But I would say that prior to 2020, we were looking a lot at the basic movements of people tied to device behavior, right? The points of interest they visit, where they go, dwell time, different things like that. And that's been available quite widely for a while, tied to mobile devices. And there's changes that are happening. One is the user behavior changes, but also, there's the future of like IDFA deprecation, the privacy concerns that are coming into play here. And, all of those things are saying, well, what other, behavioral data can we take at a local level? And we know also that search is super insightful in terms of what people are looking to buy, typically right then and there. And so I think this is a really powerful type of tool and offering for businesses. And I could see this being used for B2C or B2B, honestly. And just being able to automatically scan, basically what they say is the AI will automatically scan the brand's website and their competitors' keywords. And then like once that they create this, what they call a unique whole market view. And then at that point, it just actively gathers data and provides that data back to them on these relevant keywords and any movements that are happening in the market on a daily basis. So, I think this is valuable. I believe that the transfer and shift in consumer behavior, It may or may not go back to how it was before, even if things happen to go back to whatever normal was, right? It People have adapted and adopted new behaviors and things that are also very convenient for them in terms of like delivery and curbside pickup and all of those things. So I think that there's just a lot of transition that's happening, and being able to sort of see that insight from a search perspective, I think is highly valuable. So I like the story, and I like, that we're seeing something exciting come out of Austin again.
Yes. When we can't go to South by Southwest and discover these local companies, at least we can highlight them in this way. But yeah, I like this too. I think it's an interesting approach. Obviously, I'm a big fan of artificial intelligence applied to location data. Obviously, that's what we do at ground level as well, but in a completely different way. And I think looking at trying to identify trends in local search and patterns, and comparing what you're doing to what your local competitors are doing, I think is incredibly valuable right now, and especially when you're in tough times like COVID has delivered to many businesses, where foot traffic is down across the board, finding ways to understand what people are looking for and where they're going, and how you can kind of leverage that data to slowly, bring that traffic back, whether that's physically to a place, or to your online presence, or takeout or delivery if you're in the restaurant space or what have you. I think it's smart, and having the engine just analyze that content based on those keywords and things like that, I think makes a ton of sense. I mean, in a way, like we do something similar at ground level. Not so much from this kind of data side, but like on the social side, we look at the geo metadata in posts, that people are making on platforms like Twitter and so on, and then try to kind of represent that around, within a defined radius or geofence around a particular business that is our client's location and things like that. So I think everybody's kind of really looking right now for, okay, hey, we're struggling, traffic's down. How do we find new customers? How do we find and bring back customers that have disappeared or aren't coming out right now? What are they looking for? How do we tune and optimize the messaging and the ad targeting and so on? So I'm a big fan of this. I think it makes a ton of sense, and I like that they're using AI to kind of parse through the data and come up with those recommendations. So there you go. All right, our second story. So going over to a pretty established player in our location-based marketing ecosystem world, Adsquare has launched a new offering called Audiences in Motion, and it's basically a platform where you can action on pre-bid API integrations that are tied into DSPs. And if you're not familiar with Adsquare, so they're a mobile audience data company with SDK-derived movement data. And what they're doing here is they're connecting those audience segments to country-specific geometries around out-of-home billboard and digital out-of-home display locations. And so, what they're trying to do here with this audiences in motion piece is to understand which parts of the cities are most visited, when and by whom, and basically helping you have that sort of real-time data to know where to target or which out-of-home displays to take advantage of and things like that. So it's about contextual targeting based on the data, it's not more complicated than that. I think the interesting thing is that in this space, in this out-of-home location data mashup space, we've covered maybe a dozen companies over the last year who've done a lot of work in measurement and attribution around the effectiveness of those out-of-home ads. And what I like about this story is it's on the other side, right? It's about where should I be placing the out-of-home ads? How do I optimize what I'm delivering? In a lot of ways, like what we just talked about with Adthena as well, in terms of just knowing, in a time where times are tough and budgets are limited, or being extremely conservative on what we're spending, conserving cash flow and so on, you need to get smarter. You need to get, more optimal return on what you're putting out there than maybe you even did before. And so this is really looking at how you can do that in the out of home side using this kind of real time location data. And then, of course, on the other side, some of those other companies we've talked about over the last year, can help you measure whether it's actually working, and so on. But I like it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I like this. I think this is it's nice that it's baked into their current offering, and clients don't have to go elsewhere and layer in, more vendors for this. I think it is valuable, and I do agree that I believe that there's more power in understanding the audience, or the context of a location frequently prior to running a campaign versus, even maybe post attribution, right? I think it's a little harder because of the reach you're going to see. Um, and it's I think it's a difficult time in the footfall attribution space. I think that data was never as high as it needed to be for it to be a very useful tool all the time, in terms of like how do I actually base decision making, for media spend on footfall attribution moving forward, whenever I'm only able to see footfall attribution for maybe like 5%, because the location data is just not available. So I think that this is a better it gives a better understanding as to what you should be placing where, beforehand, and making sure that your spend has the best chance, before the spending all the extra on the back end from measurement. So I like this approach. I think that it's valuable. I like the ease of use. I think that it will be, it will be picked up pretty quickly by existing clients. And yeah, I mean, I expect to see more and more, features like this coming out. And, I think players in the any location space are just trying to figure out what they have that's proprietary. And maybe like what's not going to be impacted by some of the technology changes that are going to be presenting themselves soon. So it's going to be, an interesting year coming up, for more reasons than just, hopefully exiting a pandemic. But it's going to be interesting just to see how this industry shapes and changes, and who sticks around, with some of these challenges on the cusp here.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's going to be. We're not quite at our prediction show yet for the year, but it'd be interesting to see what your predictions are for next year, Aubrianne, in terms of who's not going to be around.
Yeah,
Um, we'll have to put that on the list.
we will. All right, so let's move to something kind of fun. And there is a new location-based game called Breadcrumbs, and this app is from Anthology, which is a marketing communications agency that's based in Singapore, and it's bringing users this gamified experience. It's incentivizing them to discover or rediscover places, while learning through different interactive quizzes and games and level up and earn rewards, all those different things, right? So their vision really is to change the way that people experience places. Now, I know not that long ago on the show, we were just talking about a new kind of, out there idea from, I think it was Foursquare, that's trying to also change the way that people experience places. Not sure on how much adoption, something like that's going to get, but this is a little bit of a different, I think, play here, that they're focusing on three main areas that this app will be used, and that will be to explore, learn, and earn rewards, right? So, you think about the way that you maybe experience a place that either you are visiting or somewhere that you've been before, but you sort of want to have like this new experience, and new information finding, fact finding, but in a fun, and recreational way, right? So, really, they are starting right now with a partnership with Singapore's wildlife reserves, and their campaign is Wild About Twilight, and it's promoting their night safari, which kind of sounds fun and scary all at the same time. I don't know. Sounds like Halloween,
Come on, would you take your girls on
activities.
this?
Huh?
Would you take your girls on this?
I don't know. I mean, I need to know like is there like cages? Like, are there like separation between us and the animals? If so, yeah, I'm game. But safari usually makes me think of like being like out in the wild and in the open with the animals, which yeah, I think that that's like just sounds like the basis of a like really bad movie. Um, so what they have though is they have like for exploring this, night safari, they have this GPS functionality that they've built in, and they have 4 different trails that it can take you on. And for learning, they've encompassed like 20 different points of interest where they can engage through, special QR codes or, special discoveries through augmented reality that they have at these different sites. And then they're allowing consumers who are visiting to get rewarded. So they can answer quizzes, they can get like some enamel pin, or they can, uncover special discoveries. They also are gamifying this where you can compete with friends. So there's like a competition leaderboard, learning, you can earn extra points, all these different things. And they're running this through December 27th. So, if you're in Singapore and you can get to the wildlife reserves, let us know how this experience is. So, what's funny is when I read this story, it reminded me of these conversations that my husband and I had years ago, where this was like almost pre-glimpse offering, when we had talked about like Breadcrumbs, how something like this is so necessary whenever you're going to a concert or a venue or a park or something, and you want to leave a trail of, where you are, where you're going, so that people can easily find you. So I like the name of this app. First of all, I think that, it's really interesting. So I'm definitely inclined to like this. And I also like the idea of making a visit, something that I would say is more educational, right? Making it more interactive. So you're drawing in those Pokemon loving crowds. You are also blending the virtual with the physical in this like learning environment. And the gamified piece of it is also fun. So I think this is really fun. I could see doing this, as a young, like, if I didn't have kids, I think this would be really much more exciting, just because like stopping to interact with your phone and your friends can be a little bit difficult with young ones. But like your kids are old enough where you could go and do this with them, and it seems like it would be a really fun experience. And Pokemon is not really something I want to go and do, but if it's like learning and interacting at the same time, it sounds like a great experience. So yeah, that's my take. What do you think?
Yeah, I quite like it. I love the name. I think it's, the game mechanics of it are super interesting. I like that they're incorporating augmented reality, which we know is becoming, quite popular in QR codes into it. I think the one thing that I would want to see that I like haven't seen in the description of it is some incorporation, in addition to the AR and the QR pieces of it, to have some sort of location-based audio elements where, when you stop and you scan and you learn and so on, maybe you're getting the sounds of, those animals or whatever else that's kind of brought into it as well. So some sort of, additional sensory component, I think, could be quite interesting. But I love the idea of creating these different trails and taking people through these experiences. I mean, I could see every zoo, every, theme park, type of experience, incorporating this type of a platform into what they're doing. So I could see all kinds of use cases for this, and the fact that there's like incentives and a reward kind of aspect to it as well, I think is interesting because, like here, for example, in Toronto, where we have the Toronto Zoo, which is the largest zoo in the country, and one of the largest in the world. I been there lots of times over the years with my family, and it's a huge property, and you're wandering around, and you're trying to get from one area to another area, and to see whatever animal that you're going to go see. But like it'd be great if you were like sort of on this expedition, right? You were on this trail that you were following digitally, and that there was things to do along the way, and things that you can get rewarded for. Maybe by the time you completed your whole day of going around the zoo, that rewards that you collected turned into some kind of coupon or discount at the gift shop, or whatever, right? Mm-hmm. That could be super interesting, I think. So I think there's a lot of potential for these types of platforms. And even potentially, in addition to the audio piece, I would look at maybe some way to kind of share content on social for the business, or the property or the zoo or the whoever to create content, which I think could be really interesting as well. Sort of, bringing that user, bringing that consumer into the experience, and continuing it on in the social universe could be a good piece as well. So, but I like it overall.
Yeah, it's like
All
an
right.
adult scavenger hunt almost.
Yeah, totally. All right, final story for this week. So, moving back over to stateside here, Clark County, Las Vegas, has launched a new app. It's called the FixIt Clark County app. And basically, it's a location based tool that lets residents easily report on issues concerning issues where they, through their address or by dropping a pin from their current location, they can upload pictures and descriptions of things that they're concerned about. So, for example, let's say there's a pothole or graffiti that they found, or a street light that's out, or whatever the case might be. They can report these things in a geotagged framework through this app. And I assume, like a lot of municipalities, like here in Toronto, for example, we have the government open data platforms where you can build things and push data in and out to the city. So I assume they're using that type of a framework to layer this app on top of. But yeah, I mean, it's not complicated. And I think it's just sort of using modern technology, using apps, using location data to get the citizens to do the work, and have an easy way to make that put that on the radar of the municipal government officials that can actually get those issues resolved. I know many years ago, in the early days of the Location Based Marketing Association, we were connected to a group in Boston who had built an app called Bump. And what it was doing was, the consumer public would download this app, and it was one of the very first apps that I had ever seen that were leveraging the sensors in a mobile device. And so what it did was, is you would just be driving around in your car, and you'd have your phone obviously beside you, and this app would be running in the background. And what it would do is using the gyroscope and the compass in the phone, in the smartphone, as your car was driving, if you hit a pothole or a bump in the road, it would basically measure that quick little displacement, using the sensors. And so basically, you just had to drive around. You didn't even have to report anything. It would automatically be reporting in these potholes essentially that you were driving over, by measuring that change in amplitude that was going on, that was being fed automatically through the app into the city's systems. So that's an even more automated way to go about it. Now that's specific to potholes. It doesn't cover all these other issues, but I like when municipal governments kind of really engage the citizenry with technology like this and give them a platform to communicate and share their concerns. So I quite like it. I think it's a good innovation for them. Your thoughts?
I'm gonna go in a little bit different direction here, and I was like expecting a little bit more when I heard Fix It Clark. Besides the county point, I was thinking more of like a Christmas Vacation. Clark and the Clark Griswold, and I think that was just
Right.
the top of my mind since our buddy Ron Carricker was posting some Instagram footage of him checking out that movie. So maybe that was on my mind. But besides that disappointment that it has nothing to do with Christmas Vacation, I would say that this is, like you said, there's not really a whole lot to add. This is valuable. You know, I find that there's been times where I want to also like alert the city of where we are here, that like, hey, there's something wrong with this place at the park, or the water fountain's not working, or you've got a mess in this place that needs to be cleaned up, or whatever it may be, or something that's a safety hazard that you notice. So I think that being able to have, if it is a monitored channel, I think it could be super valuable. I think that the challenge has been that, there's a lot of like options for communicating with municipalities. There's Facebook Messenger, Facebook pages, there's, Twitter, there's Nextdoor. And what I've found, throughout my experience here is that not a lot of them are monitored or regulated, and there's just not a lot of community involvement. So I think if you can drive the adoption as a county, that's the biggest challenge. But I think once you have adoption, getting people to participate and complain about things is never a challenge, right?
No,
So
there's never a shortage of complaints for sure.
yeah. So you might even be able to get an older generation on this because, they maybe sometimes like to complain a little bit more. But yeah, I like this. And I think that it's great to see, cities thinking about from a smart city perspective, like what can we do to enable people to provide reports and make it easy and potentially even make it anonymous, right?
Yeah, and I think to your point, like there are other ways to do this with Facebook, Nextdoor, et cetera, that you've pointed out. But I think the key is I think you can have a lot more success in getting results when the data is going right into the city's systems, right? Directly, as opposed to
Mhm.
having people have to sit there and monitor for posts on Facebook or whatever the case might be. I think every city, every government should be, trying to make, open data platforms available and building applications on top of them, and obviously this isn't the only, aspect of that. I mean, there's ways to, leverage these types of things for, driver's license renewals and, you know, uh, citizen services, passports, all sorts of other things that can be done. As well. But this is just an obvious, easy one that I think any city can really kind of jump on board with. So, yeah, so that's it. That's our show for this week. You've been listening to episode number 494 of Location Weekly. We thank you again for your time, for tuning in. Please give us some likes and stars and feedback, good or bad. We like it. If you have story ideas, reach out to us. We're always interested to see what's going on around the world, and trying to give our opinions, whether you want them or not, on it. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Have a great week, everybody, and be well.
Bye.